Imagine a bowler hurling a ball that bounces twice before reaching you, and the umpire calmly nods like nothing happened at all. Picture a batter walking out with a shining metal weapon in his hands, swinging it under floodlights while the crowd gasps in disbelief. There was once a delivery so brutal it nearly destroyed friendship between two nations, leaving players bleeding and diplomats scrambling to calm the storm. One captain ordered his own brother to roll the ball along the ground in the final second, and an entire stadium exploded with rage. Bowlers once bent their arms so sneakily that legendary careers were destroyed the moment slow-motion cameras finally caught what the naked eye missed. Some batters were dismissed by simply touching the ball, while others ran with strangers beside them, creating chaos no umpire could control. Every rule you are about to discover was real, openly used, ruthlessly exploited, and eventually erased by the ICC for shocking reasons. Stay until the end, because the very last rule looks so harmless that you will never guess why officials banned it forever. Cricket has always been called a gentleman's game, yet behind that polished image hides a chaotic past you probably never imagined existed. For centuries, players hunted loopholes, invented bizarre tricks, and pushed boundaries until officials had no choice but to act. Some rules were written for safety, others for fairness, and a few simply to protect the very spirit of cricket itself. Today, you will discover 10 cricket rules that once existed openly, were exploited shamelessly, and were eventually banned forever by the ICC. Stay with me, because the very first rule looks so strange that a modern viewer would refuse to believe it was ever legal. Picture this: a bowler delivers the ball, it bounces once, then bounces again before reaching the batter, and umpires call it perfectly fine. That was the double bounce delivery, and bowlers loved it because batters could never decide whether to swing the bat or simply leave. You could be set up by a normal length one moment, then completely deceived by a sneaky second skid the next delivery. It looked clever on paper, but in reality this trick slowly poisoned the rhythm that made cricket beautiful to watch. Crowds lost interest, batters complained loudly, and matches started feeling awkward, broken, and frustratingly slow whenever bowlers leaned on this tactic. So the ICC stepped in with a firm verdict. Any ball bouncing more than once before reaching the striker is now a no ball. The flow returned, the thrill came back, and bowlers had to find honest weapons again instead of relying on cheap surface tricks. But if a sneaky delivery could be erased with a single rule, the next scandal needed action right in the middle of a match. Imagine walking out to bat in 1979 carrying a shiny metal bat that gleamed under the floodlights like a polished sword. That is exactly what Australian fast bowler Dennis Lillee did, swinging an aluminium bat onto the field as the crowd buzzed in disbelief. For a moment it looked stylish and futuristic, but the problem was serious, because the metal was wrecking the leather ball itself. England's captain Mike Brearley protested immediately, arguing that Lillee was gaining an unfair advantage no traditional wooden bat could ever match. Within minutes, the umpires forced Lillee to throw the aluminium weapon aside and pick up a proper wooden replacement instead. Soon after, the ICC made it official. Only wooden bats could be used in cricket, closing this loophole permanently and decisively. The aluminium experiment died almost as quickly as it appeared, but that strange afternoon remains one of cricket's most unforgettable moments. Now, from strange equipment, we move to something far more personal, a rule that touched the bodies and injuries of the players themselves. For decades, if a batter pulled a muscle or could barely walk, he was allowed to call a runner onto the field. The idea sounded fair. The injured player would focus on hitting, while a fresh partner sprinted the runs in his place. But on the ground, it created absolute chaos, with two batters running at once, constant collisions, and arguments breaking out every other over. Runouts piled up, fielders got confused, captains screamed at umpires, and what was meant as kindness became a circus of mistakes. Finally, in 2011, the ICC pulled the plug completely and banned runners across all formats of international cricket without exception. Since that day, Every batter must run his own runs, whether fully fit or fighting through pain. No shortcuts allowed anymore. But injuries and chaos were nothing compared to the dark storm that nearly broke an entire cricketing friendship between two proud nations. You have probably heard whispers about it. The Bodyline series of 1932 to 1933, still spoken about with a shiver today. England's captain Douglas Jardine had one obsession: stopping the legendary Don Bradman, and he chose a method that crossed every unwritten line. He ordered his bowlers to fire short balls directly at the bodies of Australian batters, again and again, ball after ball. Fielders were packed tightly on the leg side, ready to pounce, while batters had almost nowhere safe to send a bouncing missile. Players got injured, helmets did not exist back then, and every blow to the ribs sent shockwaves through the watching crowd. The fans roared in anger, newspapers called it brutal, and diplomatic ties between Britain and Australia almost cracked under the pressure. That crisis forced officials to finally limit how many bouncers a bowler could fire in a single over, especially in shorter formats. Bodyline became a permanent warning of how far competitive ambition could go when nobody is willing to draw the line first. But aggression was not the only weapon bowlers tried. Some preferred deception, and one trick in particular felt almost like an ambush. Picture facing a right-hand pacer for 5 balls. Then, suddenly, the 6th comes from a left-hand spinner without any warning at all. That was switch bowling, where bowlers changed their arm or angle mid-over, hoping to catch batters completely off guard. For the batter, it felt unfair, like being attacked from behind, because there was no time to adjust the stance or technique. So the ICC introduced a clean fix. Bowlers must now inform both the umpire and the batter before switching arm or side. A small change on paper, but it preserved fairness and made sure surprise could never again be used as a sneaky weapon. Yet fairness was not only about bowlers. Batters had their own strange habits, and one of them led to a forgotten dismissal. There was once a rule called handling the ball, where a batter touching the ball with his hand could be given out. The intention was honest, stopping players from interfering with the play. But in practice, it overlapped with another rule called obstructing the field. Umpires struggled to decide which category applied. Debates dragged on, and the law became more confusing than helpful for everyone involved. So in 2017, the ICC made things simple. Handling the ball was scrapped as a separate dismissal entirely from the rulebook. Now, if a batter touches the ball deliberately, it is simply called obstructing the field. One cleaner rule replacing 2 messy ones. But while that was a quiet correction on paper, the next story exploded across the entire cricket world like a thunderclap. It was 1981, Australia versus New Zealand, and the final ball of the match was about to deliver pure history. New Zealand needed 6 runs from the last delivery to tie, and the entire stadium held its breath waiting for the moment. Australian captain Greg Chappell then made a decision that shocked everyone. He told his brother Trevor to bowl underarm along the ground. Trevor did exactly that, rolling the ball flat on the pitch, making it physically impossible for the batter to hit a 6. The crowd booed thunderously. Commentators called it shameful, and New Zealand players walked off with anger burning in their faces and hearts. That single moment carved itself into cricket's darkest chapters, and within days, the ICC banned underarm bowling permanently from the international game. It proved how one tiny decision, even within the legal limits of the time, could change the laws of cricket forever after. But while that controversy ended in a day, the next problem haunted cricket for decades and destroyed the careers of legendary bowlers. It was the issue of illegal bowling actions, often nicknamed chucking, where a bowler straightens his arm beyond what the law allows. Earlier, nobody could really prove it. The naked eye simply could not capture the tiny micro-movement during a fast delivery. Then, technology changed everything. High-speed cameras and slow-motion replays exposed actions that had been quietly bending the rules for years. The ICC drew a hard line. A bowler's arm cannot extend more than 15 degrees while releasing the ball. Period. No exceptions. Suspensions followed, and giants like Shoaib Akhtar, Muttaya Muralidharan, and Saeed Ajmal were dragged into massive controversies that defined their careers. Fans still argue whether the rule was too strict, but without it, the balance between bat and ball would have collapsed completely. Yet, long before slow-motion cameras existed, cricket had already lived through a quieter revolution that changed where the line was actually drawn. Before 1963, the game followed something called the back foot no ball rule, and you would be amazed at how it actually worked. As long as the bowler's back foot landed behind the crease, the delivery counted, no matter where the front foot went next. That meant the front foot could stretch almost halfway down the pitch, releasing the ball terrifyingly close to the batter's face. Reaction time vanished. Batters had no chance, and concerns piled up until the ICC finally rewrote the law completely from scratch. The front foot no ball rule replaced it, the same standard that you see enforced in every single match played around the world today. Balance returned to the contest. Batters finally had a fair window to react, and bowlers had to respect a proper boundary. And now we arrive at the final rule, one that sounds harmless at first, but quietly affected almost every game ever played. There was a time when bowlers were allowed to run in and deliver the ball while wearing a cap or even a hat. In the beginning, nobody saw it as a problem, but slowly, players and officials realized this small habit was creating real issues. A flapping cap could distract the batter, and sometimes the ball got hidden behind it during the bowler's run up to the crease. Many fans still remember Virender Sehwag bowling in international matches with a cap firmly on his head, looking casual and almost playful. It looked fun and informal, but cricket spirit demanded discipline, and the visual mess started to feel wrong on the professional stage. So, the ICC ruled that bowlers can no longer deliver wearing a cap, ending a tradition that had lasted longer than expected. Today, every bowler hands his cap or hat to the umpire before running in, a small ritual preserving fairness and uniformity together. What once seemed harmless was officially erased, and now you understand how even a piece of clothing could rewrite the laws of cricket. All these bands together shape the modern cricket you watch on your screen, the polished version that hides a wildly chaotic past. So, now I want to hear from you. Which of these forgotten rules shocked you the most? And which one would you bring back? Would cricket have been more exciting, more dangerous, or simply more unfair if any of these laws had survived into the present day? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because every fan sees the game differently, and your perspective could spark a fascinating discussion. If you enjoyed this journey through cricket's strangest forgotten laws, smash the like button and subscribe for more untold stories from the sport. Thank you for watching all the way through, and remember, cricket's rulebook is alive, and every single law inside it carries history.